Stop for a moment and listen to the silence. It's 2 a.m. Your screen is burning your retinas, your coffee is cold, you're swimming through the flood of endless reports, drowning in overtime, chasing the ghost of just one more urgent task. Every time you push, every time you sacrifice the evening, the weekend, the time with your family, you tell yourself the same simple, beautiful lie. This is it. This is the effort that finally pays off. The reward is just around the corner, but the reward never comes. Only more work, more meetings, more output required. We were raised on a simple, comforting equation. Effort equals success. But look around. The people bleeding effort aren't the ones in power. They are the ones being managed, predictable, exhausted. They have the calluses, but someone else signed the check. And now, in 2026, the trap has become lethal. Companies are no longer just looking for efficiency. They are deploying artificial intelligence to automate every single measurable process. The pressure to keep up with machine productivity is immense. You feel compelled to push harder, to work faster, to desperately prove your human value by outperforming a chip. This is a race you are guaranteed to lose. You cannot outgrind an algorithm. You cannot out-hustle a machine that never sleeps. The moment you try to compete with a chip on speed and volume, you sign your own death warrant. If you continue with the strategy of just work harder, you will not just fail, you will utterly ruin yourself. This whole system, the praise, the applause, the exhaustion, it was all a beautifully packaged lie. The truth is, those who work the hardest do not win. They are consumed. They are expendable. 5 centuries ago, Niccolo Machiavelli saw this game and understood that power is not earned through honest toil or visible virtue. It is acquired through strategy, stillness, and leverage. You need to step out of the grind, turn off the noise, and look at the blueprint. Stop being expendable. Start pulling the lever. The first move for a strategist who controls the lever is not to act, but to recognize the trap. This trap is built on the lie that tells us the person who suffers the most is somehow more deserving, more noble, or more real. Suffering is not a merit badge. It's often the premium the unfocused pay for neglecting to define their battlefield. 1. The illusion of the climbing wall. We have been conditioned to believe that motion equals progress. Our instinct is to constantly push, to always move up. But in 2026, this visible and exhausting activity has metastasized into the perpetual wheel of the hamster, a dizzying, high-speed spin that is mistaken for forward momentum. You feel ambitious, you are performing, your effort is visible, but the wall is bolted to the same place, and you are moving strictly within the given framework. The man who never stops moving never notices he's walking in circles. The modern corporate system doesn't just encourage work, it measures and rewards futility in motion. Leaders and HR systems measure your output using metrics that are disconnected from ultimate impact. Think Zoom time equating to presence, the volume of emails sent equating to activity, or Slack response speed equating to perpetual availability. These metrics give you the illusion of progress while keeping you exactly where you are, compliant, visible, and useful. The moment you confuse usefulness with power, you've already lost the game. You become an honorable cog, maybe, but still a cog, and cogs are replaceable. We are told that visibility is the path to promotion, to be the loudest, the earliest, and the hardest worker. But understand, the price of availability, when you are always available, you are always replaceable. You are not meant to be seen as reliable. You are meant to be feared for your precision. 2. The mechanism of control, the obedience of exhaustion. The glorification of the grind is not a virtue, it is a control mechanism. Why? The real risk of hard labor isn't its output, it's the compliant posture it forces upon you. The system requires you to be depleted, because an exhausted man is a safe man. Exhaustion as a guarantee. Those who work the hardest are often those most easily used. They move in straight lines, predictable, visible, exhausted, and therefore harmless. You do not fear the man who's always tired. The man who grinds endlessly has no time to study the game. The addiction to applause. We crave praise and likes because we have been conditioned that effort equals worth. This addiction to visibility is modern slavery. It traps you in a loop of external validation, and a man in that loop can be led. The cheering you receive is not your compensation. It is a restraint disguised by rhythmic noise. Consider why art does not extol strategy, but glorifies work. Elite engineer the conditions that make the worker necessary. Who benefits when you're too tired to think, too loyal to question, too invested in your suffering to realize it was never your path to power. 3. The sickness of the ambitious, the tax of the unstrategic. There is a sickness among the ambitious, a hidden disease passed down like wisdom. It tells them they must suffer because they mistakenly believe their exhaustion is armor. Effort without clear direction quickly devolves into a form of personal sabotage. Responsible performance of work tasks is disguised itself as discipline, but often it is avoidance. Avoidance of what? A refusal to think deeper, to plan sharper, to demand more with less movement. Think about it. The most feared men in history were not the loudest. They were the ones you never saw coming. While the worker seeks validation, the strategist constructs reality. The man who is always loud, always active, always visible, is easy to predict, and the predictable man is the most vulnerable creature in any room. Thrones are not awarded for effort. They are taken through insight, manipulation, and perfect timing. Instead of proving your worth with constant motion, we must internalize the difference. The worker waits to be chosen. The strategist removes the illusion of choice entirely. The question is, how do you transition from usefulness to power? That is the subject of the next section. Let's dive into Machiavellian principles. We must execute a transition from the mentality of the worker to the philosophy of the strategist. This demands a profound shift in understanding how power is acquired. Power is not the linear sum of hours worked. It is a quantum leap, a sudden state-altering shift. The currency of leverage, control over labor control, is not accumulated through sweat. It is secured through calculated leverage. Leverage is the non-linear force, the multiplier, the ability to apply minimal surgical force for maximal, non-negotiable impact. The 4 invisible levers of 2026. In 2026, leverage manifests through forms that are often invisible to the man consumed by the grind. 1. Code/AI. The technological lever. You do not compete with the algorithm. You build it. You write one script or set up one AI solution that performs the labor of 100 men. You created the machine. You did not become part of it. Your 4 hours of strategic coding are worth more than 40 hours of routine reporting. 2. Capital. The financial lever, using money investment capital to purchase the time of others or to automate systems. Power is not working for money, but compelling money to work for you, freeing your mind for strategy. This allows you to remove friction that consumes the worker's time. 3. Narrative. The narrative lever, control over how you are perceived. You do not prove your worth. You engineer perception. You compel the world to believe that your scarcity is your value, utilizing an information vacuum. Effect becomes more important than effort. 4. Network. The network lever, utilizing the movement of others as your advantage. You do not run, you direct. You do not answer questions. You ask the one question that changes the game's trajectory. A prince does not rule because he works harder than the peasant. He rules because he sees further, moves quieter, and thinks sharper. Strategy is just less romantic than labor. The lions rule. Restraint is more terrifying than aggression. We hand out trophies for exhaustion. We worship burnout as if it were a badge of honor. We call sleep a weakness and rest a luxury. But ask yourself, who planted that idea in your mind? Who gains when you always produce but never command? The hard worker runs toward the problem. The strategist watches the battlefield and moves once when the time is right and wins with one strike. The lion does not become king of the jungle by hunting every day. He becomes king because he chooses when to hunt. Use this principle. Your willingness not to move is a declaration of strength. The choice of the arena. The emperor versus the gladiator. You have 2 choices upon entering the arena. Be the gladiator or be the emperor. The gladiator fights and spills blood. The crowd cheers. He seems to be the boss of the arena. But is he? The emperor sits in the shade, watching, deciding, judging. He holds the true power in the arena. With a single gesture, he determines life or death. He lifts his thumb and rewrites the future, not through labor, but through leverage. Hard work without strategy is gladiator blood. The man who works 10 times harder often serves the one who thinks 10 times sharper. The quantum leap principle, the one clean move power, is not kinetic energy, the loud push. Power is quantum energy, the unseen state-altering shift. The Machiavellian mind does not ask, how can I do more? It asks, how do I maximize perceived value through minimal visible action? This is the difference between the man climbing the ladder and the man who built the ladder and sold it to him. Consider the construction of the Eiffel Tower. Approximately 300 workers, whom we never remember, spent countless hours grinding, tightening bolts, raising beams, taking risks, making thousands of movements every day. But the world remembers only one man, Alexandre Gustave Eiffel. He is remembered not for hauling beams. He is remembered for forming the vision and owning the blueprint. The most powerful men are not the busiest. They are the most deliberate. They don't run faster. They remove friction. The strategist does not chase every opportunity. He selects a few, ignores the noise, and executes one precise movement that renders the need for all continuous effort obsolete. Strategy demands a total reset of your operating code. Your biggest weakness right now is not a lack of effort. It is a lack of restraint. True discipline is restraint. We were taught that discipline meant endurance. Machiavelli teaches that true discipline is knowing exactly when to stop. The constant movement is often avoidance, a refusal to think deeper, to plan sharper, and to demand more with less movement. The hard worker operates like a blunt saw, maximum motion, maximum noise. The strategist operates like a laser cutter, minimal movement, absolute silence, and surgically focused energy. The strategist spends 90% of his time on analysis, planning, and strategic rest, and only 10% on visible action. This is not laziness, this is mastery. The strategist does not chase every opportunity. He ignores the noise and practices the strike. A single accurate draw of the blade surpasses the lethality of 1,000 blind swings. Mystery is your armor. The world demands transparency, but transparency is not strength. It is exposure. A declared intention is a target, and every target invites resistance. You were taught to show your progress, but progress shown too soon becomes a map for your enemies. The camouflage of the truly dangerous. You must stop trying to convince others of your potential. Stop narrating your journey. Let your enemies stay confused and make false assumptions. Let them underestimate you, because underestimation is the camouflage of the truly dangerous. You must learn the art of becoming unreadable. The man who cannot be read cannot be manipulated. He holds the power of confusion, controlling perception. The man who wants power does not reveal everything. He reveals only enough to shape perception. Machiavelli wrote that the wise man does at once what the fool does at last. But the wise man often says nothing at all, and lets the world wonder what he knows. Mystery is a weapon. Silence as dominance, the power of the void. Hard workers speak to prove their worth. Strategists speak only when silence has already done enough damage. Power in absence of performance. Your silence is not laziness, it is leverage. Watch how questions grow in the silence. Watch how power builds in the absence of performance. It is not charisma that makes kings, it is restraint. The unreadable man controls rooms without stepping forward. He draws others in only to reveal nothing. And that silence, that refusal to explain, becomes more powerful than any speech. In this age of noise and oversharing, the most terrifying force is a man who does not need to explain himself at all. The man who is always visible, always active, always loud, is easy to predict, and the predictable man is the most vulnerable creature in any room. Stillness, the coiled threat. In chess, the most dangerous piece is not the one that moves constantly. It's the one you forget about. The one that hasn't moved yet. The one waiting, still, quiet, coiled. The emperor's robes remain unsullied, and that is not an accident. It is a decision. You must choose to be admired for your grind or feared for your mind, but not both. Because the man who chooses admiration will always serve the one who prefers control. The world doesn't remember the hardest working player in the game. It remembers the one who changed the game. We conclude with the final choice. You have unmasked the lie, understood leverage, and embraced the power of stillness. Now you must forge your blueprint and become uncontrollable. The architect versus the empire builder. The core sickness of the ambitious is the belief that effort equals worth. While you are executing the next urgent and important task, putting your life on hold just to gain your supervisor's praise, your supervisor reaps the benefits. You exhaust and burn yourself out running up that ladder, while he ascends effortlessly on the elevator you cleared for him. Are you prepared to continue in this cycle, or is it time to stop and find the elevator call button? The slavery of visibility. The desperate need for perpetual visibility, likes and applause is the defining servitude of our age. The applause you receive is not payment, it is a leash wrapped in the sound of hands clapping. The modern world has convinced you that you must prove yourself, that every day is an audition, and you must convince the judges again and again that you are good. It is time to stop performing for a panel of people to earn their favorable smile and applause. Instead, focus your effort on creating your own show and become the producer. Power, when real, does not explain itself. The man who cannot be touched cannot be controlled. The scarcity of stillness, the power of control. You must value something far rarer than effort. Control of time, control of perception, control of the narrative, and control of the outcome. There is no scarcity in hard work, millions do it. But how many can remain unseen until they strike? Very few. These things do not come to the hardest worker. They come to the sharpest manipulator of movement. Hard work without direction is servitude. Hard work without leverage is enslavement, dressed up as virtue. The final blueprint, a strategy for the uncontrollable life. To execute the shift from grind to strategy, you need an algorithm. 1. The strategic withdrawal. Begin by becoming unavailable. Disconnect from the metrics that are used to measure your usefulness. This means deliberately reducing your visibility. Stop daily reporting. Stop over-explaining. Your goal to create a vacuum around your presence that forces others to speak just to fill the silence you leave. You must begin to disappear from the pattern that controls others. 2. The leverage point identification. Replace 80% of your old high-kinetic tasks with the search for the single leverage point. Ask what is the one action that, if completed, will render all other tasks obsolete or unnecessary. Your goal. To find the blueprint. This action should not be loud or visible. It must be fundamental, a rule change, a friction removal, or the creation of an AI system that works for you. 3. The one clean strike. The king does not rush. He waits until all forces are deployed, then executes a singular game-ending maneuver. Your goal. To move once cleanly, like the hand of God across a chessboard. You must learn to return with thunder, because once you taste what it feels like to win without being seen, you will never go back to begging for recognition. You were taught that to rest is to fall behind. This is the conviction of those who dance to someone else's tune their entire lives. The crowd chants for the entertainer, but the real power lies with someone who isn't even on stage. Your purpose is conquest, not to be affectionately recalled by those who profited from your exhaustion. This quiet, dangerous difference separates the empire builder from the bricklayer. So choose now. Will you keep chasing the noise and the temporary praise? Or will you step into the ruthless stillness of the strategist? A man who doesn't need to attract attention by shouting becomes free, and the man who secures his freedom forges his legend.